Servus, and welcome back to the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 19. What can I say? This week's a special one. Been waiting to have this guy on. Specifically, wanted to get him on episode 19 because that's been his number his whole life growing up. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't care. My podcast, my rules. But anyways, so this guy, met him when I was 12 years old. Rollerbladed up to my door when I had just moved to Burlington, and we hit it off right away, and it started a friendship that has lasted over 20 years. And played minor hockey with him growing up, played junior, then watched him take off through the NCAA and into the NHL, and now in Switzerland. Welcome to the podcast, a good friend of mine, someone I'm very proud of and happy to be following along his career. Welcome to the podcast, Josh Jooris.
Finally. Oh man, no, it's good to be here. I thought it was something I said at first. Jeez, it's taken a while, but excited to be here. Talk to you. A little nervous. Jeez.
Everything's got sentimental value, so I figured it would be better. And let's be honest, if I get to episode 86, I might have to have you on for number 2 because that should be your real number according to me. But
so you're on track. You're buzzing out these episodes.
Yeah, they're going pretty well so far. Yeah, and it's fun. It's a good hobby, and as I said, it's good for everyone listening to hear kind of everyone's individual story, and just to know there's no specific path. Everyone makes their own, follows their own footsteps. So as always, we take it back to the beginning. You were born in St. Catharines, Ontario, but as I said, we met each other in Burlington. So what age did you move to Burlington?
Yeah, you know what, I had to do some research. I talked to my mom yesterday to kind of prepare for this, go back. My memory is not the greatest with it, but yeah, I moved to Burlington when I was, I think, 6 years old. So not crazy memories of St. Catharines. I remember that's when I, obviously first started skating and stuff, but most of my memories stem back to Burlington. I know we were the first, one of the first houses up in Millcroft, I think. You're familiar with Millcroft. So a lot has changed since then. I remember we were like one of the first builds and the foundations of the whole street. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then yeah, from there a lot of memories made. It was yeah, obviously a special place, and that's when I first really remember strapping them on and getting all the road hockey games going and everything. So lots of fun there.
You had one of the best houses for kids. Like, it was just one of those ones you see in like a movie, sick basement, bubble hockey, big old fashioned, whatever was 90-inch TV, the old rectangle thing. And then, yeah, as you said, like road hockey and stuff like that was, you were in a perfect area, and obviously your dad would join in too. But one thing I thought was pretty cool about your childhood is obviously your dad, who I had on last week, he was still playing when you were born, and you guys were going to Europe every year. So you were essentially growing up in Europe, and that's probably where you first were, learning to at least skate, was over in Europe in these different countries.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously a bit of a different upbringing. It's funny now kind of being through it and seeing guys with families and kids who kind of do the same thing, bring their families over with them. They live the whole European life and hockey, and then come back for the summer. So seeing that secondhand, like, I get a glimpse of what my childhood was like. Obviously don't have kids and stuff, but it's pretty special. I mean, not a lot of kids get to experience that, I don't think, and there's a lot of fond memories. You get to experience a different culture at a young age, just how they do things over there. And not to say that I remember a lot of it. I see it now firsthand, but just certain experience that you can look back on, whether it's old videos and stuff, being able to ski in the Alps, or just the little things that Europe has to offer, and being able to do that as a little kid with, experience that with the family. It's pretty special. So yeah, it was definitely different. I remember just going over there and coming back, getting a school here, like finishing. I would go there for the schooling year, and then I'd come over here and finish part of it. And I'd always be the cool kid who would come back from Europe, and I remember that was a pretty cool feeling. But yeah, it was definitely a different upbringing, I think, and I think it kind of opened my mind a bit to obviously what it's like to live over there and be over there. So
yeah, when I talked to your dad, I was saying, like, you basically had a unofficial, like, intro or schooling to what the pro hockey life was at a very young age. And especially in Europe, like back then, going to the rink every day with your dad when you were allowed. I'm sure he was taking you on the ice, teaching you small things. You're being in the dressing room with all the guys and, loving it. And then he brought up too, like you were just at the games, like you were so focused, like your mom would give you like your bottle or whatever, but you were just so focused on the play, focused on the puck. And it was just like, kind of like one of those things for seeing the future. Like this guy's has a real passion for the sport.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember obviously being super obsessed with watching him and thinking it was so cool. Like any chance I had a chance to go to the game, I know, you know, seeing friends now who have kids at a young age, like, there's certain bedtimes, obviously. So I think I would always be up for watching him and going to the games. And I think it mattered how late it got, but no, I just remember being like, just loving it, like thinking it was so cool that he was playing over there. And obviously he was a pretty good player. He was like one of the best players on the teams he played for. So you could just feel that with the fans and stuff. So I always took pride in being his son and going to the games and thought it was kind of special. And I remember being able to bring my friends from school, like the Swiss school or over there, or in Germany too. Like, think it was pretty cool to bring him, and we'd go in the dressing room after. And yeah, I think like subconsciously you're just kind of open to that. I don't think you obviously realize it at the time, but I think it sticks with you as you grow older, like all the experience you have ingrained as a young kid, where having a dad who played professional, being able to, just to be around the rink and see what they do, and see what they do in the dressing room, and just whatever, they're just playing mini sticks in there and just seeing what goes on. I think those are things you develop that you're not really recognizing at the time, but I think it sticks with you. So very fortunate to have that experience. And just I definitely remember those times, and they're pretty special.
It's a different upbringing, man. Like it's an apprenticeship or, as I said, intro to schooling that a lot of, hockey players would say, oh, I would have loved to have that at a young age because you're just surrounded by it early and get a better understanding. And I think that's part of the reason why you were always, even when we were younger, like you were pretty small, but you were still very smart. And I think that upbringing obviously was part of that, just of being able to learn from watching your dad for so long, who also wasn't a very big guy, playing at these high levels in Europe. And at a young age, you're just soaking it in, which is great. I wanted to talk to you about your kind of your minor hockey path. Like obviously it's not like a traditional one, as we said. It's not like you were standard in Burlington from 7 years old until 18. Do you remember like how the hockey worked over in Europe when you were going over, or is it just kind of like a blur?
Yes and no. Definitely remember my first kind of organized hockey in Switzerland. And that was in Lausanne and in Geneva. Funny enough, like the two teams I played for while I've been there. But like I said, I remember going out and skating with my dad and on the different teams, and like a lot of outdoor rinks, much different than in Canada. There's just everything was, I feel like, outdoors there. I remember being I was first Lausanne and then Geneva, I believe. Maybe it might have been the other way around, but a lot of like half ice stuff. I remember the old videotapes, like everything was like blue line in, and it was just fun. Yeah, there was just like little tournaments and stuff. I don't remember in terms of, I think they've made obviously great strides with skill development and everything like that. But I just remember having fun there. Like, they obviously could play in really cool places too, like with up in the mountains there. There's just so many rinks like that, like I said, outdoors. So it's a pretty different experience that way. But I think a lot different than when I came back to organized hockey with Burlington. So, they have all like the Adam, novice, Pee-wee, all these different ways to advance. And I don't think that was necessarily the same in Switzerland. I think it was just organized chaos, really.
Well, it's hard for those countries. Like they definitely don't have the population and the kids. Like we obviously have, you know, single A, double A, triple A, and then even levels below, and you can filter or build teams in every level because you have enough kids. Where over there, it's like you might have a U13 team and could have 11 players, and then the U15 team could have 40. Like it's just so differently structured. But you played for, when you came back, you played for Stony Creek first, didn't you? Before going to Burlington, did you play 1 year at Stony Creek, or were you double A, and that's why you played against them? I remember seeing like a picture.
Yeah, no, I think that was like single. I remember that. I think I know the picture you're talking about. It's in my room, but I think I played on a bunch of tournament teams, and I think that was all with those Stony Creek guys. So that
Okay.
might have those were like summer tournament teams, and that was with Cowdice, and I think we and yeah, Dalton Levy. I remember we were on those like tournament teams in the summer. Adrian Ciccarelli.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that might have been, and I remember we had like those Stony Creek colors, the yellow, black, or the gold, black, and white, set colors. And so, yeah, no, mostly it was all Burlington, yeah.
And that's where we obviously met each other, as I said before, when I moved here. And as I said last week on the podcast, like your dad was a huge influence in me. I definitely wasn't a practice guy. So when I was doing tryouts, I wasn't the best. And your dad, because I think we became close friends, and obviously he had believed in me a bit, that I got an invite to AAA when I had been first designated to AA. And without him there, I probably don't have the career I did, because it was really hard to make AAA back then. And, fortunately, I made it and got to play with you a couple of years. But I wanted to talk about just kind of your side of it. As I mentioned before as well, like you were not a tall guy when we were growing up. Like you had a really late growth spurt. So you were always, as I said, the smart player, good with your hands, could think the game, but everybody was just so much bigger than you, and stronger on the puck. And I wanted to kind of talk about that. Like, how was that for you? Just kind of like going through that adversity, because at a young age, like every year, it's like, you can see all these kids having their growth spurts, and yours evidently didn't come till a bit later. So how was that for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, thank God. I mean, I think I hit my growth spurt when I was like 17, 18. I was definitely latest of bloomers. Yeah, thankful that kicked in. But I know I definitely it was just a case of late bloomer. Like I went back. It was funny. This podcast made me go back, and we looked at old pictures of, just because I didn't know where I played. I know I played a single A year novice, I think it was. And then I made the jump to AA, and then my first AAA team, I think, was maybe major Pee Wee. I think when were we AAA? Was that minor bantam? Did you come over? Is that what it was?
I think so. As we were 12 turning 13, so whatever that level was.
Yeah, no, exactly. So and in every one of those pictures, I'm just, the tiniest, the shrimp of everyone. And it's funny to see the development of every kid, and you just see me just like stagnant, like the exact same baby face kid. And I remember as I got older, like then it started to wear on me. Like it was obvious it was harder to play the game too, because everyone was getting bigger and hitting their growth spurts and hitting puberty, and I was just sitting there like waiting, and then not sure what was going on. So like it was definitely a bit harder. Yeah, just mentally too. At that age, it's just harder to see other kids develop, and you're just kind of sitting there, and it was just a bit difficult. But yeah, you have to find different ways to be good at, and figure out a way to play at that level. So I think it was, a mix of smarts. I remember just always being known for kind of playmaking ability, just trying to see the ice, and that just developed as I got older. But yeah, no, thankfully I grew a bit, but I do remember it being really hard. Like it was our minor midget year, I think, with Murray Clark. Fortunately, he's not with us now, but that year I remember it being so difficult. Like, was that our draft year?
Yeah, he coached like everyone's draft year.
Yeah, and like I remember like feeling like I was good enough, but it's just like my size too. It just didn't really transfer, and I remember like it was just so hard mentally. I mean, I remember my mom like coming down. It was just so frustrating to play. And like it was like, dude, if you don't want to do this, like you don't have to do this. Like, and it was honestly a question of like if I was going to continue to even play. And I remember it was in our basement at that house there. And she's like, if it's not a passion of yours, then you don't have to do it. I'm like, it's definitely a passion of mine. I'm just struggling. and struggling to enjoy it. Luckily I stuck with it. I remember she saying it was, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so I stuck with it. And I think that year I just kind of hit my growth spurt, and things started to go well. So yeah.
That summer was as if like you mutated, like, to say it like the least. Like, you literally went from like 5'6", 5'7" to you were taller than me. You were 6 feet by the end, and everything, like all the training you had been doing was then coming into your body. I remember that. And then obviously you went in to midget after that, and you ended up playing 2 years of midget. And this is always, I think the first one of the first things guys struggle with at that age is, you know, is it better to play a second year of midget where I'm going to play in all these situations, get more ice time, work on my game, or should I be focused on making the jump, whether it's tier 2 junior A, junior B, junior C even? And you evidently decided to, yeah, I'm going to play another year of midget, and I think it ended up being a good decision for you. But what was kind of the thinking behind that?
That's something I remember vividly too. It was I went to guys were going to the OHL, and then there was guys graduating the Cougars and stuff. And I remember I didn't make the Cougars team. I tried out for some junior B teams. I went to like Kitchener Dutchmen and the Cambridge Winterhawks. Remember that? I remember going to see games too. Those were some cool games to watch. But yeah, I went to those camps. I remember driving myself there, and I remember getting cut from each of them distinctly. Like after, it was like, you know what, yeah, this is, you should, go maybe play a year of minor midget. And I remember that being a tough thing to take, but in the end, definitely worked out. Like I remember, and I said this, we were talking last night, like it was one of the I've had a couple development years, like big development years that stand out, and that was definitely one of them. I mean, we had a really good team, coached by Jeff Lyons and Barrick Sykes there, and we went to some good tournaments. And I remember Kelowna being one, and I think I won like MVP of the tournament there. And I just remember that being a real big development year in terms of my confidence. And like I said, I grew that year, and we just had a lot of fun. Enjoyed the game. My dad actually, I believe, was coaching in Sierre that year in Switzerland. So I honestly think that, helped me too, like grow up in a sense. It was just my mom and my sister that was home. So I kind of, not to like maybe had to do some other thing, like take a bit of charge, help out my mom a lot more. And little things like that. So I think in terms of development and growth, that was huge for me. And I just took that confidence into the next year when I made the Cougars.
Yeah, and like the next year, as you said, you made Cougars, and that was I had been there the year before, and that was our only year of junior together. So my second year, your first year. But quickly before we jump to Cougars, there, the one thing I wanted to talk about is the old debate of major junior versus NCAA, and I think you're a unique case because I don't really like, and this is my personal opinion, I don't really think the OHL was ever on your radar just because your dad had gone NCAA. So you knew from him, this is what it's like. The hockey's great. The lifestyle's great. It's the best 4 years of your life. And plus you were small back then as well. So you were waiting on this growth spurt or whatever. And maybe the OHL wasn't realistic, but I just always felt like whether you got drafted or not, it was always, your focus was always on NCAA.
For sure. Like I had the experience to go with him. He went to a couple alumni events, and this is, I seen where he went like RPI 3-4 times before my draft year even. So I was kind of open to that world and saw what it was like, and saw his still having these unreal relationships with these guys he went to school with. So, and I just fell in love with the college atmosphere too. It was so much different than the OHL. I've been to some OHL games, and with the band and everything, and having a whole school behind you. And I never really took it to heart. Obviously I didn't have a chance really getting picked, but it was more so I was focused, like you said, on the college route, which for me it was just the way to go, because there was no chance of me developing or getting any better, like, going into that OHL year. So it just took me some time, and I ended up going to college pretty late too. So definitely the college road was always number one, just to follow, I knew what it was like through my dad's experience.
Well, I think in my experience of talking to people, a lot of people you talk to wish that they had maybe went the NCAA route, and there's not many people in my experience that have gone the NCAA route and said, "Oh, I wish I went the OHL route," just because obviously, your dad brought it up too last week was, the OHL, it's good for some people, and other people might be late bloomers and stuff, where the NCAA route could be better. And you're obviously, it's a different style of hockey and stuff like that. And as you said, it's a lot of fun. We both went there. And but first, back to the Cougars. So we played together that first year. Then I left, and the second year, you and Greg Carey just went on an absolute tear. I believe he set the record for most goals in the year at 72. You set a record for most assists at 90, beating your dad's record. Suck on that, Mark. And 116 points in 50 games. Like, again, so we're talking about, as you said, that second year of midget, you were able to take a giant leap. What made you take the giant leap from your first year of Cougars to second year? Not to say your first year was bad. You had 34 points in 42 games, pretty respectable. But how did you just take off after that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it was just a matter of being through it once, and it's kind of been my whole career, like just getting comfortable in an environment, and then settling in, whether that be with having relationships with the guys, and then just getting used to it. It always takes me a year, to kind of really get settled in, and then the second, I just feel better. So that maybe had a bit to do with it. We had a really good team too, and me and Greg, I remember just the chemistry we had instantly. He came back. I think he was on our team at the start too, and then he might have had some opportunities to go, and I think he came back, and we were just like, we played a little bit together the first year, and then the second year, I remember us just like, we were just gonna find each other. Well, yeah, I ended up finding him because he was the goal scorer. So I just set out, like, he was just someone that would get open and could score from anywhere, especially at that level. Like, he had a NHL caliber shot at that age, and like not many goalies were. He could score honestly from anywhere, so made my job easy. I mean, definitely had to find him, but he could literally score from anywhere. So yeah, it just clicked that year. It was so much fun. We had a really good team. Unfortunately, we lost in the semis. Or yeah, Newmarket had our number that year, but just overall confidence, and yeah, chemistry. Like that's what really kind of made that take off.
And evidently, from that year, you end up getting a D1 scholarship to Union College. Funny enough, that is the big rival of RPI where your dad went. So I'm sure at first that was a little getting used to for your dad not being able to cheer for RPI anymore. But I'm curious, during this season, as you said, it was a great year for both you and Greg Carey. But just talking about yourself, how did it feel to get that scholarship? And were you talking to a lot of other teams, doing visits? Like, how was that process for you?
Yeah, and I will say that was obviously another motivating factor to my success in that second year there. Like, I think it was my second year, so I was 20, and I knew not time was ticking, but I was, I needed to make sure like that happened. So I was highly, highly motivated too. So that's what went into that year. But yeah, Union, like, it kind of came out of the blue. I remember Ben Barr came to a game in Buffalo. We played in Buffalo, and I scored 2 goals that game, and never heard of him before, even like knowing my dad, like RPI, and it was just kind of an up and coming program. I did go on a couple visits. I went and saw RIT. RPI was interested. Jim Montgomery at the time, the coach he was the ringleader behind trying to get me to RPI, and same with Seth Appert. I visited RPI, and to be honest, I don't know, man. There was just something that I fell in love with about Union. I went on a visit, had an unbelievable time. The campus was beautiful. They played Brown the game I saw. I think they tied. It was like 3-3, but just the atmosphere, like just an old barn, and the guys, I remember, like, they took me out. That was the only team I like went out with, and they took me out and had an unbelievable time with them. And yeah, it was just, I just kind of felt deep down I wanted to kind of pave my own way. I didn't want to like RPI was great, and it was a great program. but yeah, I don't know. There's some like deep down, I was just like, this is the place I want to play here. They had a great coaching staff with Nate Lehman, Rick Bennett, and Ben Barr. All have had crazy success now. So yeah, I'm so that was one of the best career decisions I ever made, and had an amazing 3 years there and learned so much in that time. So that was how that all came about.
You guys had a great bunch of teams those years, but your class in general, and also like some guys in the class after you, like were pretty crazy. Like just some names to drop, like Keith Kincaid was the goalie there your freshman year. Then Troy Grosnick took over. Both guys have had long North American pro careers, both NHL and AHL. The Bodie brothers were there. Obviously, Simpson, who's playing in Ingolstadt right now in the DL, Bodie's there with him as well. Daniel Carr, who's in your league in Switzerland, yourself. Gossesbear was the year behind you.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm missing someone else, but
Jeremy Welsh.
Jeremy Walsh, yeah.
Unbelievable teams, like great players and just all great guys too. Like it was a special place to play for sure.
Was it a hard decision for you? So you obviously did really well your 3 years, 32 points, 28 points, 28 points. And, after that junior year, that's normally when, guys who are doing well, the NHL teams start calling. And, big decision for you, another turning point in your life. Do you stay and finish your degree, play your 4 years, and then move on to pro? Or do you sign after your junior year because you feel you're ready enough? Like, how was that decision for you? And, evidently you ended up signing with the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, to this day, the hardest decision I've ever had to make. It was it just kind of came out of nowhere too. I'd been to development camps every year. After my freshman year, I went to Boston's development camp, then I went to Vancouver's development camp, and then got a chance to go to Calgary's development camp after my junior year. And it was like I was just expecting the same thing. It's just to get exposure, just to kind of measure where you are in terms of the NHL prospects, and just to get that experience. I loved going to them. And when I got to Calgary, it was like Bob Hartley had just finished the season prior with them. He came in and took over, and it was a different feel as like comparing to the Vancouver and the Boston ones. Like it was a full on training camp. It was scrimmages, 2 scrimmages a day, and a practice. We had all this testing. Like it was wild, and you just got the feel like it was intense. And this is in whenever they do it, like middle of July. But I remember the opening meeting was like, there's a roster spot for one of you guys. Like we want to see where you guys are at, and we want to see like who wants to play for the Calgary Flames. And so that was way different than the other two camps. And yeah, I just remember playing really well. I just took that and took advantage of it. It was pretty crazy. And I just remember knowing I was playing well, and you just see there started to be some fans talking about you and all this stuff. And yeah, I played so well enough that they offered me a full contract at the end of it. I was the last guy to have my exit meeting. And I wasn't expecting that at all. Like it was crazy. It was surreal. And so when they said that, yeah, I have a decided decision to make. So I went back and forth on it for a long time, and because I had so much fun at Union, like, and my class was unbelievable. We had an unbelievable returning team, like oddly, like fun. Not, I expected it. They won the next year, so that was crazy. But yeah, I just decided at that point in time, like I went to school because obviously I wanted to prolong my hockey career and while getting an education. And when they offered me an opportunity, you just never know if you go back and you get hurt or something goes wrong. Like you just never know what's going to happen. So I just took the opportunity and signed a 2-year entry level deal. So that's where that was. Yeah.
Must have been a crazy decision, but at the same time, it's, we joke, we were big NHL guys on Xbox, and we always dreamed about, being able to sign that contract, and you evidently like got to witness that, and your dream came true. So I'm sure, in the end you would look back and Yeah, Union ended up winning the next year, but I don't think he would change it because, as you said, anything could happen. One thing I forgot to ask about Union is you guys were very, not to say other schools aren't, but you guys were very well known for having these like crazy early workouts. And I wanted to talk about them, and maybe you can just go into detail about it because I think part of the reason why your class and they continue to pump guys out of Union was because of these workouts. It's not so much that they were making you guys physically stronger, but I think it was like all mental
Absolutely.
strength.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad you brought that up because I was kind of rattled when we were going along the timeline. I'm like, dang, I want to actually talk about Union a little bit because, man, I've never been like, and it's funny we talk about it, but I've never been so close to just like quitting in my life. Like it was literally, this was at the time, we had these, we did it my freshman year and every year, but it got real intense when Rick Bennett took over in my sophomore and junior season. So yeah, they're spring workouts. They're called. We call them Bennett workouts, and it was every Thursday. So when the season ends, you get a couple weeks off, and then we were a trimester, so we went longer. So we had like 3 10-week, I think, or 8-week semesters. And so you'd get the 2 weeks off, and then you have 8 weeks of spring training. So all the seniors who were graduating that year, they didn't have to do the spring workouts, but they would always make sure the first Bennett workout, they were all there. And these Bennett workouts took place at 4 a.m. So there's a couple I can remember, and it would just be a mixture of things. We'd either meet at the pool or meet at the rink or meet on the football field. But one that sticks out in that was just incredible. So it's a Wednesday after workout, and he says, all right, we're meeting at, I want you here at the rink 4 a.m. Bring your backpacks. I'm like, okay, like, here we go. Why are we bringing our backpacks? Like, whatever. So we show up to the rink. It's the first Bennett workout of the spring. 4 a.m. He has Metallica Enter Sandman playing on our speakers, like full blast. And we're just walking in like, what's going on here? Like, this is ridiculous. So we get all changed in our gym clothes and whatever. So he's like, all right, we're going out back behind the rink. We have this big, like, there's a huge pit, like just kind of gravel and stuff. We have to fill our backpacks up with rocks. And he had to take it to measure everyone's to feel like if there was enough rocks in there to his liking. So we fill our backpacks up with rocks. He's like, all right, let's go. And he leads the run. We run 5 miles like around Schenectady. This is at 4 a.m. And Schenectady is not known for it's known for its high crime rate. So mind you, it's pretty sketchy running around this town. Luckily, we have our team, so I don't think anyone's going to touch us. But it's raining, and like we go on a 5-mile run with these rocks in our backpack. And I just remember by the end of that, I was almost in tears. My back was like all cut up. Like we're like, it was nuts, man. It was borderline torture. I remember looking at Matt Bodie, our captain, then, and we were up. And he's like, Boats, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if you're gonna finish. Like, I can't do this anymore. I physically can't run. He just starts like laughing. He's like, come on, we gotta go. And so, okay, we finished that 5-mile run and we get back to the rink. He's like, all right, first period's over. Go get your gear on. Dressed head to toe in our gear. Meet me at the football field. We go down to the football field, and he splits us into groups. We have like whatever 10 and 10. And we have to go through each one. One guy is hanging on the field goal post while the whole team sprints down and back. And if that guy falls, you have to go again. And this is like full on equipment. So it's just like things like this. Like it was crazy. Another one, we went to the creek, and we're like, this is like full on storm, and we're like army crawling in mud, and just like there's freaking dead raccoons, and I remember seeing like dead animals next to us, and we're having to hold push-ups in a creek, and guys crawl over each other. It was like military camp. I don't know if you would get away if we could do that still, like literally, but those are the things, and I look back on it now where I would do anything to just go back to like do that again, like to feel that you built so much trust and like camaraderie with the guys. Like those are still things we talk about, and it doesn't get old. We laugh about it every day, every time we get together and talk about it. But like you said, mentally, that's what built us, and that's why that team was so good. But it only built us for life after too. So thank you for bringing that up because I wanted to talk about it. But those were the times where I don't think many other schools are doing that. And we were a small school and they ended up winning. And you have to think some sort of that is attributed to the shit we went through. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's a big reason why you guys had success as a school, but also like so many guys keep funneling out of there into pro because they're building up that mental toughness, mental strength, just doing stuff like that. And yeah, might not get away with it today with all of it, but yeah, Herb Brooks had nothing on Rick Bennett.
Seriously, shout out to Rick Bennett, man. He was awesome with that. Like, yeah, I could go on too, but I mean that'll get long. But it was good.
We'll do that for episode 2 when you come back at 86. But
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, like, there was nothing ever like it was just a little team bonding. Like that it wasn't anything like that was too crazy. Like it was just stuff that he put us through and challenge us. It was a challenge, and that's what we would. If some guys, like I said, I was struggling, but Bodie picked me up, and you just work through it together. And to laugh about it now and just know what we went through, like that's what made us.
Yeah, and I guarantee you a lot of you guys went to other training camps or workouts and just thought, oh, this is nothing.
Walk in the park.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyways, yeah, that was a good story. I'm happy you shared that one. Back to you now, obviously signing. So moving on from Union, you sign. How was that first year? Again, like you played in Abbotsford there in the AHL, 27 points in your first year. I'd say pretty good. But how was that first year? Again, it's different, right? So you've just transitioned out of college and you're going and playing in pro. So you're playing against guys, in their mid 30s, some guys who got 400, 500 NHL games. So how was that experience for you?
That was another one of those development years, like for me, that sticks out. Yeah, like it was just learning the pro game, and the pro life, really. Troy Ward was my coach there, and he was probably one of the coaches I learned the most from because I was just this kid coming out of college, not a clue in the world how to navigate the pro side of things and how to take care of yourself and how to show up and how to dress and how to present yourself. Like there's so much that goes into it. And I was so raw. And yeah, I remember he within the first couple of weeks, like he had my number on the board with some other numbers that I don't think he necessarily wanted to be associated with. And I was like, oh shit, that's not good. But he called me into his office and he said, you know why you're in here? And I'm like, no. He's like, can I swear on here? He's like, you're fucking stupid. He's like, straight up, you're dumb. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what's going on here? And he's like, you have so much, and I see so much potential, and you're not like you're not like those guys you're with, but I just see so much. And he's asked me like, did you make your bed this morning? And like, how long did it take you to find your keys and all this stuff? And little things that like make taking care of yourself is such an important part of being a pro. So I had to learn all these little things, and I just saw, like, as that year went on, I just got so much more comfortable and got better. And huge for me, it was just a huge building year. It was tough, I mean, because I remember I was scratched in the playoffs that year, and this was all coincidentally going on while Union was, making their run. And I remember thinking, I'm like, what did I do? Like, it was hard. I mean, obviously I was so happy and watching them go, but I was getting healthy scratch. And I'm like, did I just piss away my last year? And like, so it was definitely hard, but we lost there, and I was able to go celebrate with Union, and that was a great time. But definitely a year of growth and just learning. So yeah, I was able to just take that with me and just get better from there.
And get better you did. 2014, 2015. So this year really stands out in my head, and I didn't even have anything to do with it. But I remember exactly where I was when I woke up in Europe. I was in France in my bed in Morzine, and I woke up to you texting me or calling me being like, I can't remember exactly what you said, but you're like, I'm going up. And I'm like, the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, just like, what's he talking about? And I go on NHL.com, Josh Jooris has been called up from, at the time, the Adirondack Flames. You had just been sent down for basically a weekend after camp.
Yeah.
And I remember having tears in my eyes, man. And then the next day, I remember having more tears in my eyes because you obviously scored in your first game. But I'm going to let you talk about that. Like, take me through those 48 hours, just all the emotions, the experience, and obviously the goal.
Yeah, that's I remember that too. That's something I won't forget. Had a really good camp. Both years had a really good camp and kind of put my name on the map. And that second year, um, yeah, I just remember feeling. I mean, I scored goals. I put up some points in the whole preseason. I played most every game, and I remember that when they sent me down, it was like, you're going to be back. Like, go down there. Don't take this as any slight. Like, go down there, work your ass off, and there's going to be opportunity for you. Like, they had a hard time sending me down. And, it was Craig Conroy at the time. And I remember Dom Pittis, and we had they just gave me so much confidence going down there. And it didn't take long. I played a weekend. Like you said, I played against Rochester. We played 2 games. And I remember we coming home. We had a road trip that week, and I was out for dinner with my 2 roommates, Ben Hanowski and Corbin Knight. And I get a call. I remember because and this was that I started watching the Calgary games intently too, because I'm like, if someone goes down, like, you never know. Like, I had this feeling, and I saw David Jones. He went down, and I think Lance Boomer had something going on. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, man, this could be it. And I went out to dinner that night, and I see a call from Brad Pascal, the assistant GM, and yeah, you get goosebumps. Like, it was such a surreal call. And like, he's like, yeah, I remember him calling me. He's like, hey Josh, what's going on? I'm just out to dinner. And he's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're coming up. I'm just like, holy shit. So then I got that night, he's like, the director of, player stuff called me. He's like, hey, we're in Chicago right now. They just finished the game in Chicago. They're on their way to Columbus. We have a day off. And he's like, okay, we're gonna have you on a flight tonight at 9 p.m. We were at dinner at like 5 or 6. So I had to pack a bag and was on a flight to Columbus to meet the team. So when I arrived there, like, they had an off day. It was an optional skate, and my bags didn't, my equipment didn't make it. So I didn't even get to skate that day. So I was pretty rattled. And then it was questionable whether they're going to be able to get it there for the pregame skate the next day when we were playing Columbus. Luckily, it came in, and I got the pregame skate in, and yeah, just remember it being a really cool day. I mean, I get to the hotel, and he's like, okay, here's your key, your room with Johnny Gaudreau. And I'm like, all right. And then that kind of started a whole couple years rooming and living with him. But yeah, super cool feeling. And then, yeah, the game itself, my parents drove down, my sister and a couple other family and friends. And that game was, I've watched it over a couple times, because you just don't, I was in a different element that game. I just see every shift. You could just tell I was just out of body, out of mind experience. And yeah, I scored a goal in the third period there. And yeah, that was a cool goal. I remember Giordano, we were down 3-1, and he said, okay, you do this. We're going to win the face-off. We're going to go D to D, and you're just going to go up the middle. I'm going to find you. And that's exactly what happened. I went for a breakaway and scored. So those things you don't forget, and super cool feeling.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, luckily your family was there as well to see it. And it was, you're one of those guys that's, I mean, scoring the NHL is scoring the NHL, but you're one of those guys that's fortunate to have your first NHL goal be an absolute beauty. It's not like you were standing in front of the net and it hits your skate and goes in or something, but yours was very good. And on Sergei Bobrovsky, who at that time was doing very well in Columbus and was their backbone. So, and evidently that led to you never seeing Adirondack again. You ended up staying there the rest of the year. And I just wanted to talk quickly about, before we get into the playoff run, which is its own story. You guys had you had a big young group there, like you had Johnny Gaudreau, as you said, you had Sean Monahan, who I believe was in maybe his second or third season. So, 19, 20, 21, around there. Yourself, Michael Ferland was there, Lance Bolma, Colburn, Sam Bennett, TJ Brody, So you guys had a young team, but you guys were very, very talented team as well. So they had put a lot of faith in you young guys, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, that was a special team. Like on paper, we were like, how the hell are these guys doing as well as they're doing? We were the comeback flames. Like I think we had that nickname or whatever, but we had so many third periods where we were down and we'd find away flames. That's what they call us. But we had so many periods where we were down and we just come back, and like it was crazy. But on paper, yeah, I mean, I was centering Johnny Gaudreau and Yuri Hoodler at one point for a good chunk of the season, and I mean, people look at that roster and it's not like the most intimidating thing, I don't think. So like, I don't know. We just found a way. I think Bob Hartley, he had us playing a way that we had to play, like just so detail oriented, and it was a simple game, and everyone was just on the same page. And that's, you put that up against any kind of talented team, if they're not playing the same way or they're not gelling, I think you can beat anyone. So that's just how it was. And yeah, we had guys who had some big years, and Johnny was unbelievable. That was his rookie season. Monahan, like you said, that was his second year, and some great leadership. We had Giordano, Chris Russell, Matt Stajan. There was like so many guys that we just found a way that year, and it was so fun to be a part of. Yeah, those are the years where you just, like, I remember just it was just so cool to be a part of. And yeah, then going into the playoffs, I mean, yeah, you can. I don't know if that was an experience in itself.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that in a second here. But one thing I just wanted to touch quickly on it is, your first year in the NHL, in 60 games, you had 24 points, 12 and 12. So I'd say pretty good year. You definitely gained a lot of confidence. As you said, the year before with Abbotsford, you definitely learned some things, development year in a sense, and were able to take it into your first NHL year. You played with some great guys, as you said too, and maybe not the most intimidating lineup on paper, but you guys did well. And I say this all the time to you. The one of the craziest memories I have from you is every year I would buy Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em, and the next year, which documented this year, there's a highlight of you going down on a breakaway on Craig Anderson in Ottawa, and I'm thinking, okay, Josh really likes this move, so he's going to do this. And you completely went 180 on that and decided, nope, I'm going to put it between my legs and go top shelf. And unfortunately, it didn't
That's
get
cool.
up as much as you wanted it to because, Craig Anderson not making the save. But I do think if you had got it up a little bit more over the pad, that's in the net. And, that just shows, you were enjoying yourself. You were confident in your abilities, and to make that play as a rookie in the league. So I think that goes to your character and just believing in yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like that was an example. Like it was just something about, like, I felt I was contributing to the team, and that's where, like, I credit a lot of that to the management there, and the coaching staff. Like and that was the big thing too. There's some vets there, and like they made it known that it didn't matter who you were. Like if you were helping the team win, like you could just be a young guy, a no-namer like me, or it didn't matter if you were going, like you were getting the opportunity, and I got the opportunity. And like that's where I mean, a hockey career is you have to be fortunate to get opportunities, and I got opportunities that I was fortunate to take advantage of. But like the mantra was like always earned, never given, and that's something like I remember it was ingrained in me. Like I know that, and they honored that. It was so true. It was always earned. Like if I was playing well, I was getting the opportunity to play. So he put me with good like their top line players. So that was like, I'm so grateful for that, and that opportunity that they gave me. But yeah, I forget where you're going, but yeah, it was really cool.
Going with you doing it between the legs shot on Craig
Oh yeah,
Anderson.
yeah. Sorry. So, and then that's what I mean. Thank you, like I said. So like, and that just gave me confidence. And they would always reassure, like if I was playing well, they would let me know, and they would show me all the positive things that I was doing. And I would remember, I would see, and then for the fans too, like you feel all that, and you build off it. So that's what really helped me kind of just just enjoy it. It was just so much fun. Yeah, I would never think to between the legs, and I was just like I said, out of body. I thought that was it was Carlson too. I was coming down on. I remember that highlight. Yeah, it's too bad that didn't go in, but oh well, it was a good try. I was -3 that game though. I was that was the guy played. So I felt so good that game, but I was -3. I don't get it. Just how it goes.
Well, just a stat.
That cockiness. But anyways.
No, what I was gonna say too is for those listening, like it's not like that move either back then was like, today everybody does it or today everybody does other cross shot. Like to do it back then, this was 10 years ago, not to date us. We are old, but um, you know, pretty ballsy, but good for you. And then let's just talk about that playoff run. I mean, you talked about multiple times with me the sea of red there in Calgary, the atmosphere. Obviously you guys had a insane series against Vancouver and then evidently the next round against Anaheim, but you can just talk about that experience.
Yeah, that was incredible. The whole fan support there. Never played in a louder building. Like just remember gearing up for we started on the road in Vancouver, and that was just cool in itself, like being on the road. I mean, a lot of those shifts for me were just running around and hit someone. It was crazy. Like you definitely felt the elevated physicalness, and any little bump you got or hit you got on someone, like it counted, you know what I mean? So um yeah, and then we won in 6 against Vancouver. Michael Furlan was an absolute beast that series. I don't know if there's like a whole highlight video of him, and he made a name for himself there. I'd never seen a wrecking ball like that. He was playing with like a broken rib, I think, the whole time. Like, yeah, it's just all sacrifice. Like it's just a different animal of the playoffs. Staged and scored the game winner in 6, and I think that's the highlight. The Flames will live on for a while. They still play that, and to be a part of it was so cool. My family, came to the games, and we have videos of that. So that's what life's about, memories, and to be able to live through that, like yeah, those you fall back on those, and it was just really cool. And we in Anaheim too. They had our number. I don't think we won in Anaheim. I think Calgary had a stat they hadn't won in Anaheim in 11 years, and that continued. We didn't win in Anaheim, but they beat us in 5. But yeah, super super cool to go through that, and yeah, something I'll never forget.
And then after that incredible year, you obviously were fortunate enough to play 4 years in the NHL there, over 200 games. So something that, many people dream of and would take just one, and you were able to get 200, which I think is great. But I wanted to talk about, especially then, how was it for you accepting your role on each team? Every team you went to, you might have a different role. They might see you as something else. And there's always that, I would say, trouble that some guys have is they try to increase their role too early instead of just accepting where they are, doing well at that, and then if they're given the opportunity to take on something more, then they move to that. But I feel like you were always good of just accepting, hey, you want me to be this guy, I'm going to be that guy. Like you said in the playoffs, like your memory is just running around hitting people and probably trying not to be minus. Like that's because that was your role back then. Like you accepted it. Like how did that you know become something that was a part of you? Because as I said, not a lot of people can accept it.
It was definitely something you had to learn over time. Like I can't stress enough, and you talk about it too. Like a hockey team is like, and I love your reference as a puzzle. Like everyone has a specific piece to the puzzle that they have to bring, and like that's something that's hard to accept for a lot of players, and they base their identity and like their ego on like goal scoring ability or putting up points, and it's not necessarily like not everyone can be a goal scorer or point producer in the NHL. Like there's so many other ways to contribute to like the success of a hockey team, and that was definitely something I learned. Like I was always growing up, in junior and whatever. I was a power play guy. I loved to play the power play and score points, and even into college, I played the power play a lot, and I put up points too. Like there was always an element of my game that also brought more in terms of physical presence and work ethic. So that went hand in hand with, that point production. So I think that's why I kind of stood out. I think with when I first entered the NHL, like it was just because I worked hard, like a bottom six guy that could also maybe play a more scoring role. But no, when you get to the NHL level, like you're doing anything you can to stay there. And I wasn't gonna be a top six like for forever there. Like there's only a certain amount of people and guys that do that. So you have to find ways to be able to contribute in other ways. And it was whether that's face-offs or just being strong on the wall or being reliable defensively, having a good stick, being able to play the penalty kill, or just overall being a good forechecker, like flying around, creating stuff that's not necessarily making the puck go in the net, but tilting the ice in your team's favor. So yeah, those were things where I think I understood, and I started to I appreciated more as I got older. So
Did you have a favorite like rink that you like to play in that you felt like you always, had good games in or put up points?
the Rexall place in Edmonton, but that's no more. But for whatever reason, I scored there. Not a lot, but I did. I just scored there and had a few points. So yeah, I don't know. It was the rivalry. I love playing Edmonton. Yeah, it was a cool rivalry. I mean, Edmonton wasn't great when I played. McDavid came in like later, and I don't think I was with Calgary when McDavid played, and those guys that. But no, I definitely like playing in Edmonton. I love playing in the dome too, the Saddle Dome. I mean, I know it's getting a little heat now, but it's I love playing in front of those fans. But yeah, played a lot in Edmonton, and I always felt playing good there.
And then, as I mentioned before, so you end up playing 4 years. You were in Calgary for the Rangers, Arizona, Carolina, and Pittsburgh. And then the last year before you went to Europe, you end up signing a one-way with Toronto, so you get to come home. You lived at home the whole year. You end up playing in the AHL with the Marlies there. I'm just curious, what was the decision to finally go to Europe? Like, as I explained last week on the podcast, like your dad signed you up in minor hockey, so you're able to get a Swiss license. So you're able to play in Switzerland with not being an import, not counting against their import rules. So you always had that in your back pocket. And I know every summer, even when you were playing the NHL, like teams were reaching out to you and offering you tremendous opportunities, both in playing and financially to go over there. But what evidently led to the decision to finally say, okay, I'm going to go give Europe a try?
Yeah, I think it just came to a point. And yeah, I signed with the Marlies there. You know what? It's hard. It's a hard. It's hard mentally. Like when I first got to the NHL, like it was like cloud nine, and then it's the hardest part of staying there, and that wears and tears on you like mentally. So like my time in the NHL wasn't all roses. Like it takes its toll. You know what I mean? So I think it got to a point where uh so that my fourth year, my fifth year, I think I got sent down for the first time. I'd been steady in the NHL, and I got sent down, and that hurt. Like it was really hard. And then I got traded to Pittsburgh, and then spent some time in the minors and stuff. So, you know, like going up and down, I mean, the American League, it's tough. Like it's a tough grind. I went back and forth to Pittsburgh, I think 4 times. It's 5 hours here, 5 hours there, and so it was just tough. Like, so I know I've always followed the Swiss league, and I've had people who've played there, and my dad obviously had an amazing experience there. So, yeah, that was always something I wasn't gonna, if I got to a point where was it really worth it to kind of really battle this bubble of NHL, AHL? Like I wasn't gonna waste much time. Like, yeah, like you said, I had really good opportunity to go over there, and it came down to, okay, I don't want to really battle in the American League. I played in the NHL. Like, I'd rather just go start a life there and get ingrained there, and play fun hockey, like, and be a big part of a team. So that's ultimately what led to that decision. And yeah, it's been great. I'm going to my 5th year now in Switzerland. So
Yeah, and obviously I think it's pretty cool and funny how the first place you go in Switzerland is Lausanne, and that's evidently between the two teams you played on now, the first team of them also your dad played on. I mean, he was in Sierra and Rappy a little bit before, but Lausanne was his first full season, I believe, there. And then he also played in Geneva, where you are now. And they're obviously heated rivals. And Lausanne, I visited you there. Geneva, I've been there for games when I played in Morzine. So I know both have great fans. Lausanne's a great place to live. Geneva's good as well, just bigger city. Lausanne, on the mountain there. But how was your adjustment, I would say? Because you always talk about how it takes you a little bit to adjust. So how was it adjusting to Switzerland?
yeah, that was my point. Like, it took me a while just to get comfortable. And mind you, this is a brand new country too. It's not just a new team. So you're going over there, brand new country, different culture. You have to find your way around a city that doesn't speak your language. Mind you, they're pretty good about being bilingual and with English and stuff. So it was definitely difficult, and there's also that factor of, yeah, I'm gonna go over to Switzerland, coming out of the NHL, like being more of a role player in the NHL. I'm going to go over to Switzerland. I'm going to be able to play on the power play and put up points and just have fun with the game and be an offensive player. And it's not the case. Like, it's definitely, the game is way different than at home, than the North America game. With the bigger ice, it's more of a speed game. My game was all about forechecking and turning pucks over and being hard to play against. And I found that I did that in Switzerland, but you get the puck back and you find someone in the slot, the scoring opportunity, you're still far away. You know what I mean? Like, little things like that, where there's just differences. So it took me a while to adjust. You're meeting different people, but that second year, or not second year, but a couple months even. Like, once I get comfortable, it's just like, then you can settle in and then you start figuring things out. And that was the same with my year in Geneva. Like, I moved to Geneva and going to a whole new team. I was really comfortable in Lausanne. I loved it there. So I was unsure about the whole move. And, when I got there, it's an adjustment. You have to meet new people, and mind you, these are all guys that I wasn't really fans of. They'll cheer me for that, but like, we're playing against them, and they even said the same thing about me. Like, we didn't like each other playing against each other, but when you're on their team, like, it's different. You accept each other, you move on. And it was an adjustment period there too. And then now, I just, once you get comfortable, you start to play better and you feel good and you feel good about your shot. So now I'm settled there now. So I'm excited to go back.
And let's talk about this past season. So quite the year for you. I joked about it many times with you, off camera. You had quite a year in Europe. Spangler Cup champion for the second time. One was with Team Canada, and this year you were loaned to Ambry, and I don't think anyone picked them to win that tournament, and you guys evidently won. So you're a 2-time Spangler Cup champion. So hot commodity next year, Spangler, if you're listening. Anyone, Josh Jooris. And then also, in Geneva, like, you guys had a really good year. You finished first in the league, and then evidently, I was able to come down and see some games. It was great hockey, back and forth. But you guys evidently, storybook ending, win the championship, Game 7 on home ice in front of your home fans. Just take us through, kind of the season, the feelings, and then obviously that playoff run.
Yeah, amazing year. The best part about it was just coming through and doing it. Like, we had a team that was on paper, I mean, predicted from the start to be up there, really good in the standings. And we knew at the start the opportunity we had as a team. And, with the imports we had and all the Swiss players, like, we were so deep, and we knew we had a special opportunity at the start of the year. We went out the year before. It was tough. We lost to Lugano, you know, we just didn't want that feeling again. And, you know, we followed through, we came through, and that's the best part about it. Like, I've played in the playoffs as underdogs before, and you almost have nothing to lose. Like, it's like, let's go. Like, if we lose, yeah, well, we were supposed to lose, but if we win, it's like, oh my God. But this was a different kind of pressure because we kind of were expected to win, and we expected ourselves to win. So that's what made that run super special. And yeah, the I guess, yeah, the Spengler too, that was really cool. Ombre gave me the opportunity to play. I didn't get to go with Canada. We won with, yeah, I was with Canada the year before that, or before COVID, and that was really cool. But Ombre gave me the chance to play with them, and I wasn't gonna say no. I love that. I love that weekend. My family comes out. Everyone's there, and it was yeah, like, it's just a fun weekend. It's a hockey party, and I love playing. The hockey's fun. I love playing that rink. It's just the history of that tournament. I always watched it growing up. So yeah, we definitely weren't predicted to win. I think on the odds, we had the lowest odds when in terms of the betting odds in the teams, but yeah, we were able to do it, and that was special for them because they never won anything, Dombury. So that was another opportunity I was presented, and you know, it worked. It was great experience there too with them. So um but yeah, just with the Geneva run too, like the grind of that playoff run is, it's hard. I mean, I've never played that long in the playoffs. We went game 7 in the finals, and I think that experience is only going to help us going into next year too. But losing a game, we lost a couple games in overtime too, and I never experienced that. Like, it's devastating, you know. Like, it's like, but you have to be able to wash that and go into the next game like with a clean sheet, and like that helps you, it builds you mentally. And so to be able to go through that with those guys, and I think it's only going to make us better for next year, which is exciting. But it was just a really fun, it was a cool run.
And you guys, that was the first championship in Geneva's history, and they've been in the league for whatever 100 and something years or something. Like, it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy to be part of that history. One thing you brought up before, and I thought it was cool to touch on this now, is just kind of like role players. And when you went over to Switzerland, how you said, like, you know, you think, oh, I was this in the NHL, I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to be a power play guy. But to put into context, like for the listeners, so you were playing on technically on the third line for Geneva, centering them with Linus Olmark on your wing, who played in the NHL. He is a famous penalty shot spinorama
Yeah.
goal. So a guy who played NHL, KHL, top Switzerland, or sorry, Sweden. And then Hartikainen, who just had come from the KHL. And this is your third line. Like, this is, to me, like anyone else like would say, okay, those guys are top 6 easy, but it's all about the puzzle pieces, as you said, and everyone just kind of knew where they were in the roster, and you all worked together, and it didn't matter. Like, it wouldn't be that you guys would say, okay, line 4 is up. It'd be like, hey, Jooris, your line's up, because you guys had so much depth.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, we honestly, you could label our lines or whatever. Like, everyone had a role, and everyone contributed in their own way, from the goaltending to the defense to the forwards. Like, and that's something you hear on when you hear about championships teams, whether it's in the videos after. Like, I remember I was watching the Red Wings teams, and like, there is that, that buy-in kind of. And I definitely think we had that. We definitely had that. Everyone chipped in in a way that, they had to sacrifice a certain thing for this, so we definitely sacrificed for the team, and we had a really good group that way.
Excited to see what next year brings. A little bit of 180 here. You brought it up before, like, basically, playing the Spangler, your family would come over. Your family's made tons of visits over the years, wherever you are. Just talk to me, just about the closeness of your family, because I brought it up with your dad as well. Like, some families, talk maybe a couple times a week, if you're living in Europe and they're in North America, or some people are just texting. Like, you guys have this close bond where every day, quick FaceTimes multiple times a day, what's going on. And I just wanted you to kind of talk about, like, your family and what they've meant to you through everything, because you guys do have a really tight bond.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, yeah, I mean, they've like any hockey player's parents, like, the support that goes into it. They sacrifice a lot. So Yeah, and they love to follow my career too. So like my dad kind of still lives the hockey dream, I guess, through me in a sense. Obviously, I'm still playing, and it's fun for them to follow along, and they're proud parents, obviously, and I owe a lot to them. So um, we definitely share strong bond that way. We talk about the hockey still, me and my dad, um and Lex is always there for the ride too. She loves supporting me, and so yeah, it's nice to have that kind of that closeness, and yeah, I owe a lot to them, so yeah, it's good.
It's good to have family. Back to you. You're going into your 11th season professional. Crazy to think, but here we are. How long do you see yourself playing for? Not to say that your body's old by any means. I mean, you're always in good shape, still able to play at this high level, but any thoughts for how long you plan on playing for, and then also any idea of what you might want to get into when life after hockey starts?
Yeah, well, if I listen to your podcast. I've listened to every episode. I think the main theme is play as long as you can. So
True
uh,
statement.
yeah. So I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I love playing still. It supports me obviously financially, and it's uh it's something that it's been my whole life. So I don't plan on stopping, anytime soon in particular. I want to keep playing. I don't know I don't have a date or an age, sorry, a number to give you, but as soon as and I just said that it always, once the season ends, and this was a long season, but I take that time off, and then I think as soon as that, there's always a point in the summer where I get that itch, and I get that excitement to go back in the ice, or get that excitement to go back to the season, and looking forward to it. As soon as that goes away, I don't want to fight it. I don't think I want to fight that feeling. So it came back this year, fortunately, and it's been a good summer, and I'm working out here with a ton of young kids who are in the NHL or striving to be in the NHL. So that keeps me trying to keep up with them, and I'm the old guy in the gym now, so but no, that keeps me young, and it keeps me fresh, and seeing what they do and trying to keep up with them. So it's that helps me. But yeah, no, I don't know. I want to keep playing as long as I can. And then after, yeah, I don't know. I definitely I'm aware of it. I think that's a topic that has become more to the forefront with hockey players, and it's talked about more. I know I just saw the NHLPA just started a program for that reason, just like life after hockey. And that was like a couple days ago. There's an actual program for it. So you hear stories, and it's not an easy adjustment. I mean, you've been through it, and a lot of guys on your podcast have been through it, where it's you want to have some sort of plan. So that's where I don't think maybe 10 years ago many guys actually thought of that, and they're just kind of like, oh shit, now what? And now it's something that's in the back of your mind, so you can start preparing for it. I haven't really yet. There's definitely ideas that float around, but hopefully when that time comes, I'll have a good sense. But no, the game's been my life, so I could see myself definitely staying in the game somehow.
And perfect transition here. Things to do after hockey, bringing up your little side gig, your alter ego, DJ Juice. Um, you've done a few concerts obviously with him, done the key and stuff, and it's obviously something that you, like many players, when they play a professional sport, they like to have something in their downtime to kind of do on the side. Some guys learn guitar. You really were into learning how to DJ, how to mix and stuff like that. Um, could we see that again in the future, possibly as a career down the road?
Oh man, if you can give me a contract or like a residence in somewhere, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know if the key to Bal is gonna, pay the bills, but no, those are obviously those are two fun nights we had. They gave me the opportunity. Shout out to LTD and the Key to Bala there. They gave me the opportunity to play a couple of gigs, and that was really fun. Yeah, it's a hobby, right? Like, I think everyone, like hockey players, you get a lot of downtime. So it was something I always loved. I mean, I remember back in college, like I got this little mixer, but I really focused on it in COVID because I remember came back and I was in quarantine for 16 days or whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I remember I ordered everything and just dialed it in. So yeah, that's something fun I like to do. It's something I can do too, like just with friends and stuff. So, but no, I don't know. I don't know if that'll take me life after hockey. I think it's probably just going to stick as a hobby. Did start my own Instagram account though. It's been cool because I haven't got any gigs, but I don't know. We'll see.
Any clubs in the GTA need a DJ one night? I
Yeah.
got one for you.
DJ Juice.
You brought it up before, kind of when we were talking about how long you plan on playing for, and just coming home and being able to recharge. And one of the things I think is really unique and something that you've used to your benefit is obviously Muskoka. So you have a cottage up there. Your family obviously built it way back, and it's your guys' sanctuary every summer. 90% of the weekends the Jooris are heading to Muskoka up there, and I think it's something unique because you can have a hard week, whether it's in the gym, on the ice, personal stuff, doesn't matter. But when you go up there for that weekend, you're just on the water, your mind is free, and you're just, as I said, your focus is gone. You're just enjoying the moment, kind of like zen, and recharging your brain mentally for the upcoming week, the upcoming season, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And very lucky to have had that, to be able to get away to every weekend. I think it saved me too. I just remember, it didn't save me, but like just kind of growing up, through high school or through, your early 20s or whatever, like there's so much pull to like go out and party and drink and do whatever. Like there's always something going on, but like literally my excuse was always, oh, I'm going to the cottage, like, and it's a pretty good excuse, but and I didn't really get into this. So like you said, it's somewhere, well, I grew up, so I was just used to it. And yeah, like now more than ever, like as I get older, like it is somewhere I can go and just get on the water, and you appreciate like the serenity of that, and just kind of being in a different place, like away from what you deal with during the week here. It's just a nice little getaway. So we've had some amazing times up there. You finally got dialed in some cottage activity. You got up wake surfing last summer for the first time, maybe 2 summers ago now. So you're officially a cottager. I know you're proud of that.
Took me till the age of 31, but I'm officially a Muskoker. Got the itch for.
Hate it. There'd be so many activities, and like if you couldn't like do something, you'd be so rattled. I don't know if you like coming up that much.
I like coming up when it rained because it meant we got to play
Yeah.
video games all the time. But I didn't like it when it was sunny because I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta go out there and we got to do like wake surfing, or we got to do like tubing, and your dad would always flip me. And yeah, it took me a while to get into that stuff, but that's not funny memories. But yeah, good times. Two more for you here. It's been a long one. Appreciate everything you've said. I think it's been great to hear from someone like yourself. When you look back at your career, obviously it's still going. And as you said, hopefully you're gonna play until you can't play anymore, kind of like your dad's mentality. But when you look back on your career, like did you think you would have a career like this when you were younger?
Ooh, I don't know. Like I know, I think a lot of things have to fall into place. Um, and I reckon I'm the first to say, like, I landed on some good fortune in terms of opportunity people gave me, and having the right people believe in me. And, not everyone gets that. And obviously having the opportunity to play in Switzerland as a non-import, like that doesn't go, unnoticed on me. But I do think that I earned a lot of it too. And I can sit here, at 32, I think that a lot of it was earned. I just know my work ethic kind of growing up, and, doing the extra and just loving the game and just wanting to get better. Like I definitely can say that I earned a lot of it. Like, I know opportunities are given, but there has to be some sort of, whether it's karma, like to get those. So a part of me does believe in that. So I can sit here and say I'm proud of that. And you have to take advantage of the opportunities. So there's certain things where I was able to. So, and that's, yeah, that kind of led me through the career. So did I say, if you were to tell me when I was, 15 and in my basement with my parents there and wondering whether to continue playing or not, I was going to have the career I have been after that, I'd say no. But having, a good support system around me and people to obviously always still believe in me when times were tough, like my parents were number one for that, like just getting me through, tough times. Or they say hockey career is peaks and valleys. So when I'm low, like in the low times, like you have to have that support system, and they were always there. So yeah, it's been a good run. I'm very thankful for it, and I just hope it can continue to keep going.
You brought up a lot of good points there with, you do need some luck along the way, some people that believe in you, give you chances that maybe other people might not have. But at the same time, I'm a big believer in hard work pays off, and, good things happen to good people. And someone like yourself, you went through those adversities at a young age and you persevered through them, and, you never let anything kind of get in your way. It was always try to get better, try to improve. You knew some things would take care of themselves, and obviously they did. And I've said it multiple times. I said it in my wedding speech, like from 12 years old, my dad always said that you would probably play the longest, the highest from our team. And I guarantee you at 12 years old, a lot of parents might not have believed that. So it's happy to see that my dad's scouting report was right, and that you've obviously proved a lot of people wrong. So that's good to see. And then the last one here,
Oh, the big question
the
here.
big one, the thinker. You've listened to the podcast, so you know it's coming. So you should have a solid answer. So judgment beginning. If you were to give your younger self one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice, if you're talking to Josh Jooris back when he's 15, 16, 17 years old, and for any young listeners out there that want to, be out on an adventure like you've had, what are some things you might advise them?
Yeah, so I didn't put much thought into it, as maybe you think, but just going through my career, like first of all, I'd say it's the wise words of my mom, and I always stuck with it, is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and everyone develops at different rates. And you could be, you know, the comparing, like, comparing yourself to other people, like you can be underdeveloped or whatever. Sorry, this isn't sounding great, but like, it's just everyone develops at their own rate. And I think that you can't get discouraged by that. I think you just have to stay on your path. And as long as you actually have a passion for the game and you want to get better, like you're in control of that. So like, I just remember little things that I would do, and just like I always thought in my head, like no one else is doing this. Like I'm doing this. Like I would go to workouts with a group or whatever, but then I'd go and I'd have extra days where I'd go to the track, or you can remember if we'd be pushing a car in a parking lot, you know what I mean? Like I would just, even if other kids were doing that, but in my head, I would be like, oh, no one else is doing this. I'm getting better than them. And so like, if you have a desire and a passion, like you have to just trust in that, and yeah, like just kind of go the extra mile. And then I'd say as my career went on, like there's so many things that can enter your head, like to bring you down, or just, and I've struggled with that throughout my career. It's almost like once you get to the top, it's so hard to like stay there mentally, right? Because I think there's so many things to bring you down, and your ego kind of can build too. And once your ego starts taking shots, like, or once it starts getting bigger, it's easier to kind of start taking shots at it. So like, to be able to not have that and just like kind of stick with what works, like that got you there in the first place, I think that's definitely a piece of advice I'd give to myself, and not worry what others would think of me. Because I remember, getting to that peak And then all of a sudden, when I'd come home and like go through summers and have these skates, like I was like, oh, I'm this NHL player now. I have to live up to this certain expectation of like, and whether I'd screw up or make a mistake, I feel like that was like completely spotlight, you know, and I'd be like, I play in the NHL, I can't be making that, or I'm out with younger kids than me and they're like looking better than me or whatever. And I remember I just like, and it kind of took my like enjoyment away from even like summer skates, and that's where I was like thriving. That's where I would like, so taking that judgment um out of your mind and out of the game, like comparing yourself to others, I think just having tunnel vision to what got you there and why you enjoy the game, that's definitely a piece of advice I would give my younger self, and probably would have helped me stay on the right path. But those are things you learn as a pro and as you go through it, right? Like, you know, it's just not something you're going to know. But if you can give that sort of advice to someone to help them maybe think about it if it does happen, that's my piece of advice.
No, it definitely. I liked especially the last part there. Like, you definitely have to have kind of those the tunnel vision on, and at the same time, you're sharing your story right now. People will be listening to this, but until they go through it themselves, they might not know fully how to handle it. Like, you can advise them, tell them, hey, this is my advice to you, but at the same time, they have to go through it and, you know, individually be able to handle it, because as you said, everyone handles things differently. It's great that you shared some stuff that you believe, looking back, helped you and could have even helped you more if you had known these things back then. But as you said, it's about growing up, becoming an adult, going through these things. And, you know, there's a reason, obviously, you've played 11 years professionally at high levels, is you've been able to always learn from every season, adjust, and take what you've learned and put it into the next season going forward. So I appreciate you taking the time today. It was awesome. I mean, we were going pretty long there, but
I was worried. I mean, how long? This is a long one here.
yeah, we might have beat your dad, which is good. But yeah, no, I was very informational. I mean, obviously it brought back, I think, a lot of memories for you, talking about you know, your path, especially the college days there, your first year Calgary. So it's and honestly, I'm still fixated on your basement. That's images still in my head, your backyard, where we grew up, and
Good memories there.
good
Yeah.
memories. Yeah, and that's where it all began. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. You taking time out of your day to talk to us. And yeah, I believe in the future they're not
Day or
gonna.
a fortnight.
Yeah, I don't know. What was your day like today? Was today an off day?
We gotta hop on the sticks right now. Let's go.
Yeah, we gotta
No,
get on.
I just want to thank you too. That was it was fun. I think you're doing an unreal job too, man. Like, I've listened, like I said, I listened to most of the episodes, and from your first one to now, like I see you carry a great conversation. It's easy to talk to you. So I think it's a really beneficial podcast for a lot of hockey players, because I know the theme is, doesn't matter. You don't have to make the NHL to be, you know, to have a great career, and just like, so there's a lot of stories out there, like you get the guests you've had on, where I think it's definitely beneficial to people listening. So hopefully this can get out there and reach some people, and yeah, keep going. I hope I don't have to wait till 86 for the next one. That's a long time away. There's so many more stories we can talk about. We should have one where we just, they're like, you know, stories or something.
No, I wanted to be honest. Leah told me, she was like, "Why don't you do it in person? Like, just you guys sitting on the couch or something." Or like, we talked about me, you, and your dad at Muskoka. Obviously, I have to invest in some equipment to get the second mic there and stuff. So maybe that'll be the last weekend of the summer there. When we're there, we can have an episode, me, you, and your dad, and
Yeah.
just shoot the shit and talk about stuff. But yeah, again, man, appreciate your kind words. And yeah, let's hit the sticks. And for
Until
those,
next time, I'm joining you for this.
you got it.
You got
Until
it.
you, me. All right. And for those listening, until next time, cheers and
Shoot.
ciao.
Yeah.